On the evening of the 27th of March in the heart of London, a door was broken down. It happened at the Westminster Quaker Meeting House, a place of stillness, a place of prayer, a Christian place. 20 to 30 police officers, some armed with tasers, forced entry without warning into that space. 6 young women were arrested, not for rioting, not for vandalism, not for any act at all. They were eating breadsticks, talking quietly, discussing the war in Gaza, considering climate change. The charge was conspiracy to cause a public nuisance, which is to say, not anything they had actually done, but what the state feared they might be thinking about doing. This event was not just a case of police overreach. It was a moment of revelation. It revealed the state's growing hostility toward conscience, and it revealed the state's disregard for the sacred. In recent months, we have seen again and again Christians arrested for silent prayer. No signs, no words, just presence. Street preachers handcuffed for quoting the Bible in public. And even legislation proposed to ban certain topics of conversation even inside one's own home, or even to recruit bar staff to spy on and regulate customers' conversations in bars. The courts often overturn these kinds of charges that contravene internationally recognized human rights, but the signal is already sent. Speak carefully or not at all. The message is clear. You may believe, but only in silence. You may pray, but only in private. You may think, but only with permission. This is not liberty. It is the criminalisation of conscience. But what makes the events in Westminster more shocking still is this. They did not occur in a warehouse or in a protest camp or in the street. They occurred in a house of worship. No matter our theological differences, we must acknowledge this. A Quaker meeting house is a Christian sanctuary. It is a place of worship, a place where the faithful gather in peace, a place that, until recently, would have been considered inviolable. For centuries, churches were treated as off-limits to violence, even by those in power. The medieval tradition of sanctuary, though legally abolished, still echoed in cultural restraint. Now that echo has been silenced. The state has stormed a Christian house of prayer, as though it were a drug den, as though it were a threat. And no one stopped them. Yet, in contrast, there are other places, other sanctuaries, where truly dangerous things have occurred. There are buildings in this country where sermons have been delivered that call for violence, where recordings exist of radical preaching, where state intelligence confirms the recruitment of those who would do harm, where evidence exists of widespread safeguarding issues, and yet the state does not break down those doors. It does not bring 20 officers with tasers. It does not violate those spaces, even when evidence of a threat demands it. They are left untouched. Why? Because the modern state is not afraid of danger. It is afraid of truth. It is afraid of conscience. It is afraid of the one who humbly kneels before God, not threateningly. And among all the religions of the world, it is Christianity, especially when lived with quiet conviction, that most reveals the false gods of modernity. So it is the Christian sanctuary that is violated, not the others who preach the hate, but the ones who bear witness to truth in peace. That such a thing can happen and that so few are outraged is itself a judgment on us. We have forgotten our history. We have forgotten the recusant priests who said Mass at risk of death, the Catholic mothers who catechized their children secretly through songs, the seminarians who crossed the Channel knowingly that they might never return, the saints who gave their lives not for violence, but for the holy sacrifice of the Mass. Our schools no longer teach this. Universities scorn it. The media ignore it, or worse, mock it. They portray Christians as backwards, intolerant, absurd, and so the quiet believer becomes invisible and the faithful church becomes a target. This is the price of forgetting. So what must we do? We must remember. We must teach our children who we are. We must read the lives of the saints. We must honour the memory of martyrs. We must talk about contemporary persecution and martyrs. And we must speak clearly and publicly, even when it costs, even when it offends. And we must prepare. The door broken in Westminster was not the last. And the next may be a Catholic chapel, catechism class, a home. We must be ready to stand, even to be misunderstood, to suffer, to witness, because we who would kneel humbly before God must never bend the knee to tyranny.